Cindi, why aren't more people using Data Vault?
I actually hear that one. That's a common question, and you'd be surprised at how many companies and educational institutes and public institutions are using Data Vault. We do have clients across every sector of industry, and it's growing daily. So it's like coming out of the woodwork. As I've taught over the years, I'm finding out more and more clients whose names I recognize, Fortune, 100, Fortune 500 companies that are using Data Vault. They just don't, loud it out there, right? So we have, for example, in the educational arena, we have several universities around the world that use Data Vaults in their organizations to run the analytics for, their administration and operations areas. New York University, for example, I believe the University of New South Wales. And personally, I've been training a group of users that are part of an institute up in Canada. We're always surprised to hear from clients who have started a Data Vault or, wanted to sort of kick the tires on their own. And then they come to training, to learn more, to get certified. And this is where we find out who's innovating and who's experimenting or implementing our solutions sometimes. Most people, come to find Data Vault, and we talked about this during our first podcast, because they're searching for a better way. And that's, again, how I found it. I'm teaching 2 classes concurrently right now. And in both of those classes, I asked my students this past week, why did you come to class? What brought you to Data Vault? And most of the students said they were looking for a better way. They had been building, in the traditional star schema or third normal form, and they were running into problems with scalability and flexibility, sort of absorbing changes. And their current solutions were experiencing performance issues. And they were struggling to get data through the pipelines and out to the consumers. And I hear this all the time.
Yeah, and absorbing changes has got to be the biggest one, right? Yep.
It is. So if I can continue with that thought, let me just throw something out there. I think we talked last time, we were sort of all chuckling about like the new terms and things that come out in the industry. And, we look at things like digital transformation and data modernization efforts, where a lot of businesses obviously are looking for ways to solve their data analytic problems. And, they're looking to hardware and tooling solutions. And those only address the problems for so long, before they hit the wall again. It's one of the reasons I believe that, some of these efforts are failing. So, Data Vault, as we've been saying, is a methodology. So many of these businesses, this approach to digital transformation and modernization efforts, they approach that with the same mindset where they're looking at technology to sort of fix their problem, the old silver bullet. And if you're going up against, I'll just joke around for a minute, guys. If you're going up against a werewolf, a silver bullet is beneficial. But a werewolf isn't reality, right? The data challenges are very real, and they can't be solved by tech, by this silver bullet. They have to be addressed by a plan, a consistent approach, a methodology that is engineered, to build architected, resilient, trustworthy solutions. So I was talking with a dear friend and a colleague, a brilliant guy who we were talking about this whole issue of digital transformation and modernization efforts, and why people were running into problems and businesses were running into problems with these huge investments that they're making. And he made an observation. He said, Cindi, I think the problem is that they're adopting hardware, software solutions, which has happened in our industry for decades, but they're not changing their mindset. They're not trying to embrace a methodology that goes on top of all of those pieces. And I have to concur with him. I thought that was a quite a, an insightful observation. So anyway, I just think that as more and more engineers and IT professionals search for solutions, they're coming across Data Vault 2. They're reaching out, they're asking questions, they're getting involved in various users group, like we started DVNOG, which is the Data Vault of North America users group. There's a extremely active user group in UK called Data Vault UK. And they want to find out more about Data Vault. It's growing in awareness, and there's this, that there is this, I would say, stable, tested third approach known as Data Vault 2 that's been around publicly, for over 22 years. So it's becoming more well known, and the more people who hear about it, the more people, that get excited about it. The other reason why I think Data Vault appears to be less known in our industry has to do with the fact that traditionally our institutes of higher learning are slower to pivot at the speed of technology. For example, in the area of information engineering and data science, I would venture to say that the majority of those programs focus on star schemas and third normal form modeling structures. So it's like the way Microsoft sort of took over the PC industry with its software. They started introducing their products into the higher learning educational institutes with free or greatly reduced license offerings to students and teachers. So they caught this emerging workforce first, and then they started educating, younger generations on the tools, all the way down now to primary school, right? So you tend to use what is most familiar. And if star schemas are what are familiar, then that's what you're going to use.